Oh my goodness, it's been a while, hasn't it? In Don't Starve Together, you are presented with an arsenal full of all sorts of different weapons, tools, and other silly devices to help you survive on this, well, in all honesty, actually quite a lovely archipelago you find yourself on. From spears made from rock cider twigs and swords made out of literal nightmares. But there's one item I always look to as the best item in the game. One item I rarely see given the level of appreciation it deserves. That one item? It's the ice staff. Bazash! You scream at me, scaring me slightly. It's just a simple tool used to freeze things. How useful can it be? Well, buckle up and hold on tightly because I'm going to educate you on why this one item is severely underrated. Okay, maybe it's not. I don't watch other people play Don't Starve Together, but I like to think it is, so humour me for a few moments, okay? Before we can look at the majesty of the ice staff, however, we need to look at its origins. February 26th, 2013. The ice staff was added to Don't Starve. Okay, so now that we've looked at the history of the ice staff, let's look at how to make this thing. You probably already know how. It's just a blue gem on the end of the spear. No nightmare fuel required, unlike other magical items. And that's it. At the Prestidigitator, of course. This makes it one of the few low-tech magic items in the game, letting you get your hands on it really early, which is when the staff is at its most useful, funnily enough. You can also find it in this somewhat uncommon set piece surrounded by ice hounds. Picking the staff up will aggro all the ice hounds at once, but there's nothing stopping you from killing them one at a time before picking up the staff, since the hounds won't rally. These ice hounds also drop more blue gems, meaning more ice staves, oh yes. Oh, you can also find it sometimes in the ruins, but that's not important. All things considered, it's a really cheap item, especially in the later years, since you'll have more blue gems than you'll know what to do with. So now that you got your hands on your supple ice staff, what can it do? Well, you kind of already know what it can do. True to its name, you swing it at enemies, and in a decent range, to launch a freezing bolt towards them. The bolt itself does no damage, but it will freeze enemies. It's got 20 uses and costs a whopping 1 sanity per use. Stick with me here, I'm not just reading off the wiki page, bear with. That's it, right? Why did you need to make the video then, Ash? You just explained what we already know. You're right, I did. But how about I show you some applications of the ice staff that you don't see mentioned too much? Like, for example, did you know the ice staff is capable of extinguishing all fires as well as stuff from smouldering? It does this at a range too. It can be the difference from your base standing or being ashes in the place of one ill-placed wildfire. Sure, the watering can do the same thing for a fraction of a price and in an area, and the Fling-O-Matic too, but it can come in a pinch if you happen to have one in your inventory, which you should. Before we look at some more unknown features, let's look at some practical applications of being able to actually use it for its intended purpose of freezing things. Each target in the game has its own freeze threshold that dictates how many hits it needs to take before it can be frozen. Typically, the rule of thumb here is the smaller something is, the easier it is to freeze, with critters like birds and rabbits only taking 1 blast, vault goats and pigmen taking 2, beefalo and toolbirds taking 3, most bosses taking 4, and above that, it kind of varies. Once a target is frozen, it is completely immobile for around 15 seconds on average. During this time, they can't do anything other than sit there like an idiot. Depending on nearby heat, or if they get attacked prematurely, their freeze will break, resetting their freeze threshold. So when's the best time to use this? Well, good applications are when you need to fight multiple things at once, but don't want to have to kite multiple things at once, such as Clockworks or Beefalo. You can simply freeze the ones you don't want getting in the way as you take them out one by one. You can also freeze enemies you simply do not wish to fight, like Splitmonkeys, Rockjaws and such, giving you time to get away and breathe. Another, more simple use of the staff is that it aggroes enemies, meaning it gets them mad at you. Despite the staff itself doing no damage, hitting a target with it will have them treat you like you just assaulted them, making neutral mobs aggressive and passive mobs flee. The best time I found to use this is when hunting koalefants. They will run from you until they're attacked, so a single blast from the ice staff is enough to pull its aggro. This also works for vault goats, as well as getting the attention of already aggressive mods, such as giants like the Deerclops, to save them from smashing up your base. Sure, you can use a boomerang too, but look, this isn't the video about the boomerang, okay? That's coming later. Besides using it as an aggro tool, you may also use the ice staff to help get close to enemies to keep You may also use the ice staff as a tool to get close to enemies that keep distance from you. Number one candidate for this is McTusk. These guys can be really annoying to fight solo with no ranged weapons. However, if you freeze McTusk himself, you're able to close the gap between him and his ranged attacks, letting you almost stun knock him to death due to his lack of a melee attack. And his Ice Hounds gave more Ice Gems and more Ice Staffs. Ooh! Okay, but how about some of those unknown uses I teased you about? Did you know that frozen critters can still be caught, such as butterflies and even bees? The practical applications for this are next to none, but it's cool to know you can do that. It extends to mosquitoes too, which is slightly more practical since catching them with a net usually involves taking a hit once in a while due to their erratic movement. Now, why bother catching these things instead of just killing them normally for their sack? Well, if you're playing during Hallowed Nights, you can make them into cool healing potions. Yay! Catching frozen things doesn't just end there too. Oh no, this gets even more exciting. You can also freeze birds and then just drop a bird trap on top of them to catch them instantly. This is also really impractical, since catching birds is easy enough anyway, but I guess it can be helpful if you want a specific bird. This extends to rabbits too, by the way. In fact, any small creature that can be caught in a basic trap can be frozen and easily caught like this, letting you get early game Prestidigitators much easier. Just make sure you probably already have one, because you need one to make the Night Staff. Unless you find a Night Staff, and then, yeah. You can also just freeze small critters to kill them easily for their food and drops. Pretty much all of them take just one hit to freeze too, so this is a very efficient use on your staff. Good in a pinch for a tiny bit of food, or if you need beard hair or feathers, or maybe even monster fuel. Monster fuel? Nightmare fuel when you're playing Maxwell. Monster fuel. Back to combat applications. Freezing an enemy mid-combat isn't just the best for dealing with groups of enemies or breaking aggro. You can always just freeze particularly aggressive enemies and even bosses in place to give yourself some breathing room. Need to heal up? Maybe quickly see about crafting something? You'll have plenty of time. And if you don't, well, just simply freeze them again. Don't underestimate doing this. Oh yeah, you can see about using it against some bosses too, like I just mentioned. But a lot of them boast high freeze resistance, and some even have a passive ability where their resistance to freeze increases the more they've been frozen throughout combat. Though saying this, the Ancient Guardian for some reason has like no freeze resistance and can be frozen very easily. So can the Crab King, as long as you don't socket any blue gems. I'm not the boss guy, if you've seen my videos, so I apologise for not going into too many anecdotes about this. Ultimately, the main reason I enjoy this item so much is that it has such a diverse range of applications and uses for such a low price tag. It's a tool. It's a support weapon. It's a luxury. Sure, a lot of its crowd control abilities are overshadowed by tools like the Pan Flute and Sleepy Time Stories, but those are hard to make renewably early on and require you to play as a grandma. The Ice Staff? Simple. Effective. Perfection. Blue. I think that's all I can about praise this item for. It feels like I'm rambling at this point. It's criminally underrated, underappreciated, and I love it so much. Maybe I overhyped it a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't take this video too seriously, but I hope I showed you a few things you didn't know about this beautiful little thing. Thank you all for watching, so much like always. Big shout out to the channel supporters, and big shout out to everybody that's still sticking around. I know my uploading schedule and even streaming schedule has been pretty spotty recently, but there's been a lot going on, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I probably will be doing some more Don't Starve videos. I know I said ages ago I would be doing like non-Don't Starve videos, but I can't resist the pull of this game, right? It's bound to me. It is me. I am Don't Starve, man. But yeah, I'll probably be streaming some more Don't Starve somewhat soon. Make sure to check out my Twitch page. I'm reading off the script now if you can't tell. So you can probably join us again. We've been streaming over there like a month ago. My dog's going crazy right now. Jesus Christ, dude. You're good, Teddy? Anyway, have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around. I gotta go solve my dog's problem. Take care, everybody. I love you. Mwah.